Welcome to the How to Choose Which Quiz to Use. Hi, I'm Trudy Rankin. I am the founder of West Island Digital and the online business Liftoff, and I am an expert quiz creator. I've been in the world of quiz making for a while now, both for myself and for others. And one of the biggest ones that I helped with actually helped to add $1 million a year to the bottom line of the business who started using this quiz. And the best quiz that I've created for myself and for my business actually helped me quickly find over 100 people to go through my online business liftoff program when it was being funded by the federal government, the Australian federal government. And I really enjoy doing quizzes as collaborations, as partnerships. I enjoy doing them for clients. And I think you'll find as you go through this workshop and as you start the process of creating quizzes, you might actually find that they're a little bit addictive. They're a lot of fun to do, and they can really, really make a big difference for your business and for other people. So it's something that I think is really hugely valuable. So I'm really excited about sharing with you today some of the stuff that I've learned through experience and working with other people about how to choose which quiz to use and how you can use quizzes to basically articulate the frameworks that you have and turn them into amazingly useful quizzes. Let's get started. So today we're going to just cover off just very quickly what a quiz really does, some of the different quiz types that there are out there, and then a simple 4-step framework that you can use for choosing your quiz. All right, so what a quiz really does is actually far, far more than what you might actually think. There is a ton of things that a quiz can do for your business. And it's not just for your business, it's for your customers as well. So the first thing that it does is that it helps you do what I call reverse market research, where you put up the quiz and you let it tell you, or the answers that people give you through the quiz, tell you what to produce, what to sell, what to write in terms of landing page and sales page copy, email nurture sequences, website copy, rather than just having to guess, because having to guess is like, that's the quickest way I know of to lose a lot of money, time, and energy. You don't want to have to guess. You want to actually know and have people tell you. Another thing that a quiz can do is that it breaks the sales process down into really small, non-threatening steps, and it uses micro commitments to help people know, like, and trust you much more quickly than what they might do without a quiz. So that's pretty important, because until people know, like, and trust you, they're not very likely to buy from you. So getting there more quickly is going to help you get to your revenue targets more quickly. Another thing that a quiz can do is it can help you fix the leaky website problem. That one where you've got at least 97% or more of people who come to your website leave without doing anything. They don't opt in. They might not look at your important information. They might not buy your products or whatever. So you want to be able to capture more of those people who come to your website and actually turn them from a cold audience into a warm audience. And a quiz can really help with that. And because of that, it's going to actually help you build your audience much more quickly. Another thing is that a quiz can act as a really, really powerful lead magnet. And it's a different type of lead magnet than what you might often see, maybe a downloadable PDF or a checklist or a this or that sort of infographic sort of a thing. A quiz is something that's really powerful because it incites curiosity, or at least a good quiz does. It incites curiosity on the part of the people who are coming and see the quiz and then take the quiz because they want to learn something about themselves. So that makes it really super powerful as a lead magnet. And it can help you drop the cost of your leads or your lead acquisition costs by 30 to 90%, depending on who your target audience is and your quiz, of course. And it can also help increase conversion rates so that people actually do then either opt in or they actually buy something from you. And that's because a quiz can enable segmentation and automation follow-ups or automated follow-ups that are very highly personal and very relevant to the people who have done the quiz. And that, because it all flows on from one thing to the next, that actually helps you save time for yourself and for your team if you have a team, because it starts to winnow out the non-ideal customers. It helps you to keep your customers warm. It helps you to keep people who might not be quite ready to buy from you yet, but they will be soon. It helps you to keep them warm and then move them along that line from not a buying customer to somebody who has bought something from you, which means that it helps you fill your future sales pipeline. And that's really, really critically important. So it's not just a useful thing for the right here and now. A quiz can help you create something that's going to be beneficial to you in the future. So a quiz is a really good asset to have. And I think one of the most important things for me is that it helps to create demand and desire while enabling you to diagnose what's wrong and prescribe the right solution for the people that are taking the quiz. And that means that it allows you to serve everyone, but reserve your time, your precious time, for the people that are your most ready customers, the people that are most ready to buy. So just take a moment now and just think about those things that I've said. That was a lot, but just think about them for a minute and just think or write down which of those things that I've mentioned would be the most useful for your business right now. Okay, let's move on. Ultimately, what a quiz does is that it helps you fix what I call the Band-Aid problem, where what people think they need to solve their problem isn't really what they need at all, because it's not going to help the underlying problem, and it's going to be a temporary fix at best. This is the thing that people think they want. A quiz makes it possible to diagnose what their real needs are and actually offer them the thing that will cure the problem. That is the ultimate benefit of a quiz, both for you and for your customers. So if you think about the work that you do now and the number of people you're serving, what if you were one quiz away from being able to help 2 or 3 times as many people? What is that going to do for your business? And what would it do for your business if you could turn a 3% conversion rate into a 20% conversion rate, which is absolutely possible. It absolutely is. So just think in your mind just for a sec, if you had a conversion rate that was 20% and it had gone from 3% to 20%, what's that going to mean for your revenue stream? What is that going to mean for your bottom line, for the profit that comes in? What's it going to let you do that you can't do right now because you're now getting in more money into your business? And what will it mean for the people that you're working with who are now able to be helped when you didn't have time or the capacity to help them before, and now you can? Okay, now let's talk a little bit about quiz types. Quiz types, there are 3 main categories of quizzes that are there. It's kind of high level, this concept of types. But the thing to think about is that people are highly curious about themselves. And at a really high level, quizzes help with 2 things. It helps with self-discovery, and it helps with informing a decision-making process that people might be going through at the moment. Now, Ryan Levesque from the Ask Method has bundled up a lot of the thinking around the types of quizzes into a really, really useful framework. And he talks about 3 different kinds of quizzes. He talks about type and killer and score. Now, we're going to talk about these different types a little bit, and just to give you a bit of a sense of what they are. Now, a type kind of a quiz is where the quiz questions are focused on what type you are, what body type you are, what weight loss type you might have, what's your sleep chronotype. It could be things like, are you eligible? So do you kind of fit into a certain type of group of people that makes you eligible for something? At the heart of it, it's all about where you assign specific characteristics to a thing or an aspect, where knowing these characteristics are really important to being able to build a plan for achieving goals. And so when you think about the types of quizzes, you can have the what type are you, what's your personality X, or what kind of personality are you, what's your style, what's your X profile, what's your X character. You can have different types of things different labels or brands or things that you can, ways of describing your quiz, but they all come down to type. What kind of type are they? And then the second kind of quiz that's quite popular is what's known as a killer quiz. So you might have a, what's your X killer, what's your number one killer for, or what's your number one mistake for. You might call it a pitfall, you might call it a blocker, but the concept is really around, it's something that's a negative aspect that's keeping people from their goals, and that if it's diagnosed, can be fixed if people have the right guidance, which of course you will provide because you're the expert in this particular area. So some examples might be, what's your number one golf swing killer? What's your number one relationship killer? What's your number one home builder's mistake? Those sorts of things, just as examples of what a killer type quiz might be. Now, the third type of quiz that I've seen a lot of, and I do use a lot of myself, is actually a score quiz. And it can be things like, what's your X score? Things like BMI or body mass index is actually kind of like a score thing. So basically people put some information in and it pops back and it gives them like a ranking or a score. What's your fitness score? What's your sleep score? What's your partner compatibility score? Other examples could be like, what's your score? What's your rating? What's your grade, your rank? What level are you at in regards to X? What's your compatibility score in regards to X? So those are kind of examples. And it's how low or high people score will indicate the level of work that needs to be done for them to achieve the goal that they want to achieve. And the score identifies certain areas to focus on and enables a targeted and a relevant plan to be put in place to achieve those goals. And it's your job as the quiz maker to then provide both a results page that provides them with that information, plus a follow-up email nurture sequence that's going to allow them to understand what steps to take next to make progress towards their goals. So for example, a quiz that I'm starting to work on for my business, I have a number of quizzes that I use in various parts of my business, different business units and things like that. I'm thinking about, what's your business growth style? What's your number one business growth blocker? Or I could even be calling it, what's your business growth score? So I could use a style one, I could use a killer one, which I would use the word blocker, or I could use a score one. And the style one is an example of a type quiz. But those are just examples that I'm looking at about how I might structure my quiz that I will eventually have on my Business Liftoff website. That's a quiz that people can come through, understand where they are with growing their business, identify the things that are stopping them growing their business, and then provide advice and ways for people to just break through those barriers and start to grow their business to where they want it to be. Now, we're going to just very quickly go through a 4-step framework that I've put together that's going to help you choose which quiz to use for your business. And of course, I had to try to come up with some sort of acronym that made sense. And this is just my 4-step quiz framework using the acronym quiz. So we'll just go through this just really quickly. So the first part of this framework is the Q, and the Q stands for questions, of which there are 4 really key questions. And if you don't answer these questions when you're thinking about which quiz to choose, you're going to find it difficult to pick a suitable quiz type, let alone one that's going to do the job that you want it to do. So these key questions that we have is the goal of the quiz, both for your business and for your website visitors, because you can have complementary goals that work together that enhance the ability to reach the goals, both for your business and for your website visitors. And so that's a really, really important question to answer. The second key question is, who is the quiz for? You do really need to have a good understanding of who you're aiming the quiz at. And yes, you could be talking about who's your ideal customer or your ideal avatar, but it's more around who's your ideal buyer? Who is most likely to be the person who's going to be buying from you? And then you want to be thinking about what kind of stage they are in that buying journey and where they are in the stage of their own journey of achieving their goals. So be thinking about who the quiz is for. The third question you want to ask is, why would those people want to do the quiz? Why would they bother to take the time out of their busy day and answer a bunch of questions? So you have to be really clear about what's in it for them. What are they going to get out of doing the quiz that's going to make it worth their time doing it? The fourth question that you need to think about is, what do you want them to do after you've done the quiz or after they've done the quiz? So it's really important to have very strongly in your mind what that call to action is that you want them to do after they've finished answering your questions and they've got their results page back. So the results page is the bit they get after they've answered all those questions, which gives them that first little movement towards their goals. So what do you want them to do? Have that really clearly in your mind as you're thinking about which quiz type to choose or what kind of quiz you should use for your business. Okay, now the U part of the quiz framework is understand. Because once you've got those questions sorted, there's more. You do need to understand more things. You need to understand where people are on their journey, what that journey actually is, and what it means to them for the future when they reach what they think is the end of that particular journey. So, there's the usual process that people go through. They're in the startup part of their journey. They're in the step up part of their journey. They move along all the way until they hit the really hard struggle side of things. They're ready to give up, they despair, and then they find some way of actually moving on in their journey and they actually achieve their goal. So you really want to understand where they are in this part of the journey. And sometimes if your quiz can be the one that helps them hit this sort of chin up phase, it can be really, really, really powerful and help people go from despair to achieving their goals. But you really need to understand where they are in that journey. Now, you also need to understand whether they are gathering information about a Band-Aid. Remember, the Band-Aid is the thing they think they need when it's not really. So are they gathering information about a Band-Aid type of a cure, or are they just simply trying to satisfy curiosity about themselves so that they can take that understanding and use that knowledge about themselves to move forward in what they're doing? You need to think about what you have to offer in terms of the cure. And once again, that cure has to relate back to which stage of the journey these people are in and what your cure does to help move them on to the next step. And you need to know how far your cure can move people forward towards their ultimate goal. So that's a really important thing to understand. Okay, the next thing in our 4-step framework is the I factor. And I've mentioned it just a little bit already because you really want to strongly, strongly focus on this I factor as you create your quiz, as you think of the headline for your quiz, what you name your quiz, and as you create copy that's going to send people from social media or your website or from wherever to take your quiz. And you want to make sure that you make it very much all about them. It's really, really important that it's all about them and not about you. Because if you make it about you, they don't care. They want it to be about them. And you also want to initiate that curiosity spark, something where they go, oh, that sounds interesting. I'd really like to know that about myself or my business. And you want to intensify the promise of learning something new. So once again, it comes back to satisfying their curiosity about some aspect of themselves, their journey, their business, whatever it is. It's just got to be something that's going to make them believe that their curiosity is going to be satisfied. And so this is one of the pro tips, is that your quiz type, the type you choose, has to have or enable you to have a really high focus on that curiosity value, that curiosity X value, because it's going to come down a lot to your quiz name, your quiz title, and your headlines to help spark that curiosity. So that's really, really, really important. So one of the other things that's important is that headline title, yeah, I've already said that, but you also have to remember that the questions that you ask in the quiz also have to be ones that help spark that curiosity factor as well. So your quiz type that you end up choosing is going to need to be able to maximize curiosity times the value, if that makes sense. Okay. All right. The last step in our 4-step framework is what I call Z or Z, depending on where you live in the world, but it stands for zippy next steps, or in other words, quick wins. We want to very much focus on quick wins because you want to be able to give people really zippy quick wins immediately after people have finished answering the questions in the quiz. So once again, when they've answered the questions, they should see a results page. And on that results page, those results that they see should immediately move people forward. And so once again, that's another pro tip, and that your quiz type and the structure that it takes should make it really easy for you to help create aha moments. And those aha moments for the quiz taker can come either during the quiz when they're answering questions and the questions spark thoughts, or it might come after the quiz when they see their results page. So it's important to think about those things because they can work in tandem with each other in really, really good ways to just really, really rocket people forward. So just a little bit more here too is that this is the place where the zippy quick wins is when I'm talking about the results page. This is where you give people their score, their ranking, their type. You satisfy their curiosity itch. You give them the first quick win or small steps towards victory, which is the Band-Aid, and then you give them the real solution in your email nurture sequence when you offer them your product. So that's kind of important to remember because you're using your results page and your email nurture sequence to really give them the cure and then actually help them get to that victory in relation to the current stage that they're in. That's kind of really important to think about. And then once you've done that, remember, people are always on a journey. They're always moving forward in time on their journey. You can then rinse and repeat. You can either have multiple quizzes, and that's why I say that quiz making can become kind of addictive and really, really a fun thing to do. Or you can make your quiz to be the kind of quiz that people can actually go back and take it again and again and again. So a score quiz is really good for that because you can use the quiz to set a baseline, give them your product, take them through your product, and then get them to take the quiz again. And then they can see how far they've come through doing your quiz. So just remember one quick thing to think about too is that your quiz type, the type that you choose, is going to determine how you present your results. So you need to be thinking about whether your people get more value from text or from visuals or from audio, or maybe a mix of 2 or 3 of those. So you need to be thinking about the form your results take and how impactful that form is on people's learning types. If you relate that back to how people learn, listen, watch, speak, do, those things can all combine to make a really powerful results page. Okay, now let's just pull it all together. As you're thinking about which kind of quiz to use for your business, you need to be thinking about the journey stage. Are people at the beginning, the middle, or the end of their journey? And then the next thing you need to think about is which of these 3 types of quizzes, the type, the killer, the score, is going to make it easier for you to diagnose their exact problem and then prescribe a solution for them. And that's really, really important. So if you're thinking about that and you're thinking about what kind of diagnosis information that's needed, then if you need the thing that determines which approach to use, then you're going to use a type quiz. If you need to know what's holding them back, then a killer quiz is probably the best one to use. If you need to know where their gaps are so that you can then tell them how to fill those gaps or pick up the skills to fill the gaps, then a score type of quiz is probably the right one to use. So those are really important things to think about in terms of deciding which one you're going to choose. And lastly, you need to be thinking, as I've said earlier, how does your cure fit in? Does it dictate a certain kind of quiz? And does your product help them fix a killer problem? Does your product help take them from a level 2 to a level 5? Does your cure focus on, just for example, like a different body type? Do they have fast twitch muscles or whatever? Are they this kind of type or are they that kind of type? And your cure ends up teaching the right thing for that type. So you got to take your cure into account when you're thinking about picking your quiz. type, the kind of quiz that you're going to have. So just take a little bit of time, just a sec, maybe pause this video just for 2 seconds and just write down what you think your quiz type is probably going to be. And if you have people that you can talk to about these sorts of things, check in with them, ask them whether they think that the quiz type that you think might be the right one would actually work, and just share with people and discuss it. Okay, now just really quickly, just a little bit of advice about quiz making tools. There's a bunch of stuff out there. There's so many things that you can choose from. I'm familiar with a number, and I know there's more out there that I haven't ever had a look at. So I do know there's some key things to think about when you're looking at which quiz making tool to choose. And the first thing that I would say is don't use a forms tool. Now, you might think to yourself, well, a forms tool, let me put the questions together really quickly, and I can move from one to another. They might be able to have a little bit of branching logic there. But what you're not going to get from a form type tool is the ability to easily, rapidly tweak, get the data from how people have answered each question, use really complicated branching logic, or even to go in and completely quickly rewrite your quiz if you need to make changes. Because as you run quizzes, you're going to learn what works and what doesn't, and you're going to want to go in there and you're going to change some parts of your quiz. So you need a quiz tool, a quiz making tool that's going to allow that to happen. So one of the key factors that you need to be thinking about when you're choosing a tool is to think about how much functionality the tool is going to allow you to have. And you want to make sure that your functionality lets you work with quite complex quizzes, because you're going to really quickly find that quizzes, even really simple looking quizzes, they might look simple, but at the back end, they can actually be really, really complicated. So you need to think about the ability of the quiz making tool to handle that. And the second thing you want to think about is price. When you're just starting out, you don't need all the bells and whistles. You need something that's going to do the job, but you also need to think about making sure that you have a quiz making tool that's going to grow with you and with your understanding of how quizzes work, and also how many people you have going through the quiz on a monthly basis. So when we think about those things, then the things that I think are important, as I said, price, functionality, and also the growth of your own business, then you need to be looking at those on a bit of a grid. And for me, I use something called LeadsHook. LeadsHook is probably one of the best tools that I found in terms of affordability and in terms of the functionality that it has and what it lets you do. It's actually used by a lot of really they're not high profile because they tend to be kind of unknown in the social world, but they're really powerful pay-per-click type marketers. So they're used by high-end marketers to really, really generate a lot of very, very good, valuable, high-value leads for clients. So they're used by people who run like agency, paper lead agencies, and it's very effective. It's very, very well done. There's another one called Bucket.io. It's got a lot of functionality as well. It's a lot more expensive than LeadsHook. LeadsHook for me is one of the best ones. There's another one out there that I've run into called Interact. It's got good reputation. That's a good one to look at as well. It's a little tiny bit less expensive than LeadsHook, but it doesn't quite have all the functionality. And then, of course, there's things like ScoreApp, where it's really only good for your score type of quizzes. But if you're looking for something that's going to just let you get started really, really quickly and start experimenting, that can be something that you can look at, but it won't grow with you as you learn about quizzes and what they can do. Okay, so let's just have a really quick reprise of this 4-step framework. You want to make sure that you are asking yourself those 4 key questions about who you're working with, what they need, what they're looking for, and what you can offer to them as you think about which quiz type to choose. You need to understand where they are on their journey, and you need to focus on the I factor, the fact that they're interested in themselves. They're not interested in you, they're interested in themselves. And so if you can bring out that curiosity factor, that I factor, then that's going to be really, really helpful. And then you need to focus on your zippy next steps. What are the quick wins that you can give people? How can you help them, get going a lot quicker than if they hadn't done the quiz? And I think that's really important to remember. That's a really, really important thing to let people know is that if they do the quiz, it's going to help them get to success quicker. All right. Now, in terms of next steps, if you're interested, if this has been of any interest to you and you're interested in taking the next step and actually building a quiz for yourself, I'm going to be shortly offering small group sessions where I will help you figure out your quiz topic, visualize your results page, create your draft questions, and help you understand the nuances of question flow and logic, because that is the one place where people make the biggest number of mistakes in creating a quiz, because the questions don't take people in the direction that they need to go for you to get the data that you need. And I'll also help you map out your email nurture sequences. So we do these in small groups, so the numbers are limited. I keep them limited on purpose because you need me to be able to be there and help you by answering your questions as you go through each stage of building a quiz. And so these small group sessions go for 12 weeks, and you can either attend and be there while I do a little bit of training, and then everybody works together on their quizzes, and then I'm there to be able to, you can ask questions, or you can watch the training in your own time because I'll do replays, and then you can work on the quiz on your own. Whichever way you want to do it, it's basically there to help you from scratch, come up with an idea for your quiz, choose what quiz type, and then basically create your quiz and get it out there and get it live. So if you're interested in that, you can basically go to this URL here. It's onlinebusinessliftoff.com/quiz creators working sessions. And you can go there and sign up to that. It gives you a little bit of more information about how it works and how much it costs, but just go there and just check it out. And if you are interested in building a quiz, I'd love to have you join me. It's a lot of fun. But like I said, quiz building is a little bit contagious. It's a little bit addictive. And it's something that you might find that you really, really enjoy doing. So I hope that was useful. If you have questions, please feel free to pop them into the comment section below, or actually connect up with me on LinkedIn. If you want to send me a connection request, you can send me a connection request and make sure you mention that you've actually seen this particular workshop, and I'd be happy to answer questions that you might have. So all the best and take care, and go out there and create quizzes.